Hi everyone, Moino Ray from Bakir again as always and as usual. I'm going to be covering another pagan goddess in this video, which is Persephone, also known as Kórē. Now, most people watching this might already be familiar with Persephone, but for those that weren't, in ancient Greek mythology and religion, Persephone, also called Kórē, or Kora, meaning the maiden, is the daughter of Zeus and Demeter, so Kore meaning maiden. She became the queen of the underworld after her abduction by her uncle Hades, the king of the underworld, who would also later take her into marriage. The myth of her abduction, her sojourn into the underworld, and her cyclical return to the surface represents her function as the embodiment of spring and the personification of vegetation, especially grain crops which appear into the earth when sown, sprout from the earth in spring, and are harvested when fully grown. Yeah, that is the first paragraph of the Wikipedia entry as that you can find linked in the description of this video as is customarily the case. Uh, might also add an additional video, I don't know yet while I'm recording this, explaining who she is video-wise, either at the end screen or also in the description, etc. Now let's get on to with her occult attributes and appearance, etc. Now, planetarily, Kore or Persephone, I'll be using the latter. Persephone, she, because I simply personally like it a bit better. Both are fine with me in any case. Planetarily, technically, Persephone aligns with Mars, specifically the zodiac sign Aries. But bear in mind, this is technically because she has a very strong Venusian influence, specifically the zodiac sign Taurus. So you can use either Martian or Venusian attributes, although I heavily, or at the very least considerably recommend doing the latter, so Venusian correspondences. And yeah, all the things that she was worshipped for make sense. She was also worshipped for agrarian magic, so that simply means using magic for harvesting purposes, so agricultural purposes. Again, the whole bit about harvesting and that she essentially is the representation or personification of the cycle of, or part of her personality entails that she is the personification of the cycle of harvest, specifically when spring returns and so on and so forth, and then with autumn things die down and yada yada yada. But like I said, the Martian aspects of her personality in the beginning, they like I said in the beginning, the Martian aspects of her personality simply convey her having more of a not coercive character or persona about her or coercive traits about her, but more a serious tone, but not serious as in Saturnian, serious as in Martian. Think of the so-called boss babe attitude. That is what Persephone or Kore displays. But in her case, it's done constructively, not necessarily a bad thing. Just think a woman that is attractive and yet quite serious-minded in nature. The strong silent type. The strong silent type almost always exclusively applies to men. This is the first time that I've seen I think not only an, a woman, but an entity specifically have the strong silent type attitude and or mentality. More, she more only responds when spoken to specifically. For the rest, she's just completely quiet and just stares at you or looks at you. Staring not in a bad way, just she just plain looks at you. Expressionless, more or less. Or with more of a stern expression, but not stern as in harming, stern as in just straight face. Straight face is the phrase I was looking for. Um, Let me see. What else is there to say? Well, yeah, and for the rest, part of her personality conveys that she is persistent, as in keyword fixity. She is fixed more in terms of what she was worshipped for, as well as what she can provide. But the drawback is also that that comes accompanied with a bit of stubbornness on her end out. And that energy is definitely what she'll bestow upon you if you, as a spirit worker or a cultist or whatever, want to work with her. Now, speaking of that, other than agricultural ventures, obviously, and the fact that as a goddess, she would be more appealing and influential on women compared to men, but obviously both are on the table. Or even guys can work with her. It's all up to them. It's just that she'll do slightly better, moderately, slightly better for, or just plain semi-moderately better for women than men for the aforementioned reasons. Um, um, Let me see. What else was I gonna say? Yeah. Converted to modern standards, since not too many people are involved in agricultural ventures, money is also on the table, as in money, wealth, income. Although understand that this is hypothetically speaking arbitrary. And when I say arbitrary, I mean arbitrary in the sense that it really depends even more so than usual based on miscellaneous conditions, factors, and circumstances, such as the person that is summoning and working with her, the person's conditions, life conditions and circumstances, and so on and so forth. Again, I need to lay emphasis on the fact that, especially if you're a woman and you intend on working with Persephone and Kórē, that obviously the more intensely or how intense and how long you work with her will automatically make it so that you'll adopt her traits. So you'll become like her. Um, so keep in mind what I said regarding her personality. If that doesn't appeal to you, then you need to apply some specific guidelines, as in, hey, listen, regarding you, I only want this energy introduced into my life and nothing more. And then that might, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the case, but that might make things better. It will, but still. But of course, this is more for advanced magicians that know exactly what I'm talking about and that know how to incorporate only part of an entity's energy or any energy into their lives rather than just take the whole billfold into their face, so to speak. Yeah, and that's it. Last but not least, her appearance. Her appearance is that of a typical Greek-looking woman with both blonde and dark hair. The blonde is more prominent, but that applies to me because I like blonde women, because I love blonde women. But again, dark hair is also on the table. She appears in a typical royalty-looking dress, but that is more symbolic. More conventionally, it is a Greek tunic. Okay, when I say royalty-looking dress, think of like a wedding dress. Okay, that you're more used to seeing in medieval times. That's why I said it's symbolic. Um, so yeah, a black tunic. Hades also appeared, her husband, several times and said, "Thanks for covering my wife." Last time I summoned Hades for the first time was years ago, lifetimes ago, when I looked considerably different. Not nearly as good as I do now and whatnot. What, 2019, I think? Yeah. 2018, 2019. 6, 7 years ago, in theory. For me, it's like 67 years ago. In any case, and for the rest, so also she has a strong underworld vibe about her. That's why in the beginning I said to myself she might, just like her husband, be Saturnian. We'll see. But no, that's not the case. And she has a sickle or two sickles in her hand. And also her followers appeared next to her, or a representation of her followers. Yeah, more the latter than the former, or just plain a representation of her followers. Essentially, how should I put it? The energy that her followers bestowed upon her through worship, let's just put it that way, or gave her through worship, inadvertently or otherwise, so whether they're aware of it or not. And it's simply a bunch of Greek/Roman looking individuals, both men and women. Um, but yeah, in general, there were a bit more men than women, as well as priests that worshipped her or that contributed to her worship in temples and whatnot, devoted or dedicated to her. And the aforementioned, they were picking grain and they had like these big baskets filled with grain. Uh, oh yeah, and um, again, the whole cyclical aspect, I saw that initially as well, where she was surrounded by grain, and then all of a sudden there is like the gradual transition where the grain dies down and it just seeps into the earth, etc. The whole concept of the typical four European four seasons, but specifically pertaining obviously to harvesting season, which is either spring or I think in this case it was spring. I mean, it's more prominently to be spring or more prominent to be spring. But generally speaking, summer is also on the table, and essentially where, if I'm not mistaken, where spring ends and summer begins. Yeah, and the adverse, where autumn ends and winter begins, or similar. Okay. In any case, the whole cyclical period that is mentioned in the Wikipedia section. So exactly what she was worshipped for, and that is all. Again, if you're interested in detail in who she is, read the entire Wikipedia section. And yeah, that's it. Bye.